Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com. You are listening to The Daily Dog with your host, Michele Forto. The Daily Dog offers training advice, tips and tricks, and maybe even a book or movie review, too.
Hello and welcome, everybody. It's The Daily Dog. We're glad you joined us. On today's show, we're going to be talking about barking and Cujo versus Beethoven. Does your dog bark? Man, mine does. I've got 44 that bark all the time. I wonder what's up with that. Why do dogs bark? Well, the most common reasons a dog barks are territorial barking, alarm barking, attention-seeking barking, greeting barking, compulsive barking, socially facilitated barking, and frustration-induced barking. So what is all that about? Well, territorial barking, excessive barking in response to people, dogs, or other animals encroaching on their territory. Alarm barking is a barking in response to noises and sights. Alarm barking is not limited to defending territory. Attention-seeking barking, used to gain attention or rewards like food or playtime. Greeting barking, a bark to say hello. Greeting barking is accompanied by relaxed body language and a wagging tail. Compulsive barking, repetitive barking often accompanied by a repetitive movement such as pacing. Socially facilitated barking, also known as response barking, when a dog barks excessively only when they hear another dog bark. Frustration-induced barking is excessive barking in response to a frustrating situation such as being confined or being separated from other dogs or people. Chances are you recognize one of the dog's barks that I described above. Once you know your dog's motivation for barking, you can identify tricks and tools to stop it. You can also contact a dog trainer so that they can help you identify the bark and how to address it in a more effective manner. On today's Breed of the Day, we're going to talk about Cujo versus Beethoven. In the 1981 Stephen King classic, Cujo was an easygoing St. Bernard who chases a rabbit into its hole and in return gets bit on the nose and ultimately succumbs to rabies. Beethoven, the 1992 comedy that turns into a series of films about a big St. Bernard and his fun-loving shenanigans that kind of reminds me of Clifford the Big Red Dog. In the movies, the same breed of dog is portrayed vastly different in comparison. Cujo was a loyal guardian of his family, albeit left to fend for himself, was a good representation of this majestic breed, and Cujo also demonstrated a decent representation of what rabies can do to your dog, which was an extreme jump from how Walt Disney portrayed a rabid dog in Old Yeller. Shrouded in legend and the mists of time, the origin of the St. Bernard is subject to many theories, much like the movies have portrayed. It seems most probably that the St. Bernard developed from stock that resulted from breeding of heavy Asian Molosser brought to Switzerland by Roman armies during the first 2 centuries A.D., with native dogs which undoubtedly existed in the region at the time of the Roman invasions. St. Bernards have long been part of our folklore. One can picture a large, fluffy brown and white dog with his tongue hanging low and a whiskey barrel attached to his collar. Legend says that these big, versatile dogs were used in rescuing people from the Alps that may have been trapped by avalanche or just had lost their way on a snowy path. St. Bernards have worked as part of a hospice in the Swiss Alps as a refuge for travelers crossing the treacherous passes between Switzerland and Italy. Although it is debated as to when exactly the dogs began working at the hospice due to a fire that destroyed the building in the late 16th century, The first notation concerning the dogs was not until 1707. This, however, was merely a casual reference to dogs at the hospice and carried the implication that their rescue work at St. Bernard's Pass was a fact well known at the time. From a digest of early references, it appears that the dogs were first brought to the hospice sometime between 1660 and 1670. It is likely that the monks recruited large dogs from the valley to serve as watchdogs and companions during the long winter months, when the hospice was almost completely isolated. During the 3 centuries that St. Bernards were used in rescue work at the hospice, it is estimated that they were responsible for the saving of well over 2,500 human lives. Although the building of the railroad tunnels through the Alps has lessened foot and vehicular travel across the St. Bernard Pass, the monks continued until 2004 to maintain these fine dogs for companionship and in the honor of the hospice tradition. Do you own a St. Bernard? Tell us your stories about them. Thank you for listening to The Daily Dog. Tune in next time.
Did you know that Alaska Dog Works trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michele Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dog Works on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.
If you like our podcast, there are a few things you can do. You can take a couple of minutes and go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also check out all of our DogWorks Radio sponsors and promotions in our show notes. Another thing you can do is go over to Facebook, like our Facebook page, and one last thing, please tell all of your friends by spreading the word about DogWorks Radio. Thank you so much for listening to us. We really appreciate you.
DogWorks Radio is produced by Robert Forto. Logo art by Angry Squirrel Studios. DogWorks Radio is produced in conjunction with KVRF 89.7 in Palmer, Alaska.
For dog training advice, you can contact Alaska Dog Works at 907-841-1686 or visit their website at alaskadogworks.com. If you have a show idea or would like to be a guest, please contact us by sending an email to live@dogworksradio.com.